Here we are in Imperial, and we keep going around the rondel. Alright, so what happened that was big? We had some big investment plays, Britain and France, and those ended up triggering off a couple of switches. I believe the English player ended up grabbing France, actually, off of who held him? This guy had him before. And another shift, not sure quite where, maybe not. Some extra money was paid off. This guy increased his Austrian holdings with a slight amount of money that he had. And this guy dumped in heavily on the Germans because the Germans were so far in the lead. Unfortunately, the German player, he couldn't end the game on this turn. Didn't push things over to the investment space, which might have been a good idea. It would have been a wash with the next highest holder of Germans for the extra $2 that he would have spent for doing that. I hate spending extra to push time that way. But no matter what, the Russians could not be stopped from hitting taxation. Even though the Austrians made a move against them and took some of their territory in the Balkans, Russia actually made a big jump in taxation up to 15, which created a lot of money just in the pool for the Russian player, and managed to push them into second place here. Still, it's only a ×3 multiplier. Germany's probably going to end things not on the next play, but on the one after that. If they do not, well, 1, 2, 3, 2, 4, 6. So for $6, they could actually end it on the next play. Chances are that's not worth it for Germany, but it's hard to tell. We'll have to see where other people are placed on the rondel. But that's one of the tricky things in the game. Right at the end, you might be able to end things to your advantage. All right. One or two more rounds, and that's it. We had the Austrians do the first skip of a taxation. They were down low enough. They were only going to gain 2 spaces on the track, which would keep them in the ×1 area. So they jumped ahead to building a factory. They're hoping to be able to score some points somehow. That's not very valuable. Their new owner is not doing well. We had a lot of investment opportunities where a lot of money flowed, and people are pretty much trying to grab up the stuff that's going to win them the most points. So, for example, I was looking at this guy, and Italy going from 16 to 25, while it might have given him control of Italy, I'm not sure if it did. No, it didn't quite. Italy looks like they're in a good position. It seemed like a good idea, but it actually would have lost them a couple of points as long as Italy stayed 4 or less, and the chances of them getting to 5 are about none. So you have to kind of balance off at this point in the game. Shares may not make you anything anymore. Buying them early, you're going to be getting at least the investment a few times, so they tend to pay off. When buying them late, you can tell how much they're worth. So in this case, the guy bought a lot of Russian stock on two occasions because he's got the pure investor position where he doesn't have to. He can always buy bonds or sell bonds, however you want to put it, which is kind of powerful right at the end of the game. He was able to say, those Russian ones, they're not as valuable as the German, but I don't have the cash on hand for the German ones, so I made two sales on Russian bonds. Lasted at least one more after this, and then maybe another one, likely another one, because the Germans did not advance all the way to the taxation space, mainly because the guy who just bought them only had $1 million and couldn't push it. Not only that, but even if he could have pushed it, they wouldn't have won. They would have only gotten 3 spaces on the track because the French charged in, took one of their factories, and also took Belgium. French also grabbed Algiers from the Italians. The English and Italians scored, however, And the English did not make it into the 4 zone. The Italians did. So the game's not going to be as far apart as it looked like it was at one point. The only real thing is the guy who owns the Germans also owns the Russians, and the Russians are doing quite well. They're not going to be in second place, probably, but they are doing very well for themselves, and they did a production. The Austrians actually spent extra to push things over so that they could do a import action and built a bunch of armies. What they're going to do with that, I don't know, but the guy who owns them wanted some extra flexibility to try to do something because he knows he's way behind at this point. Went around again, had a lot of people paying the $2 to hit an important spot, taxation or investor. Italians scored their investor and used the money to buy yet more Italian shares. And Italian shares are looking like a real deal, although they're all sold out now too. So like the German ones, they're in the lead. Hey, you know, that 25 million bond is worth 32, so it's worth buying straight up just for the value. What else did we see? The Germans did not end the game, well, did not go for taxation. They went for a maneuver and retook their territory. Right now they're at 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, which will get them 6, which would, of course, put them over the top. So if nobody does anything before the German turn, they are going to end the game. However, before the German turn, Austria gets to drop taxation, and conceivably everyone except Russia on the rondel here. Well, France obviously has already just gone, but Britain and Italy both get to hit taxation again if they cash their money in. So looks like actually Italy has a chance to end things before. I don't think England's far enough in lead victory points wise, but they'll be up to the 4-point level. What did we see? We saw the English switch over here, and that's about it. So it's over. Let me just go over why. What did we have? The Austrians and then the Italians. The Italians both, I think, had to pay. Maybe not. The Austrians did not have to pay. But the Italians had to pay to end the game, basically. And by hitting there, they pushed themselves to the 25 spot. The Austrians did manage to slip into the 2 spot, or the 2 times slot, so they're not quite as bad as they were seeming. I spreadsheeted out the results. Kind of hard to see, so I'm going to go over them. Okay, so in last place, we had player 4, who kind of got hosed with the... never really had a strong hold on the game. Those English stocks aren't worth a lot. The winning things were German and Italian. And what we're seeing, and then right ahead of him was our long-term investor at 79, which isn't very good. Next one was down here, which totaled up at 104. And then the German-Russian, that combination that I thought was godlike, that only pulled 119. Our winners, the 5th, the guy who pulled off the Italians, had 144, but the big winner of the whole boot was the guy with 2nd place in Italy, who also held valuable French, German and Russian holdings. He ended up with 153. So, you know, running the top company up there, or country up there, doesn't necessarily give you things. There's a lot of space in the points, and that really has to do, you know, that doesn't necessarily shake out entirely until the end game. I mean, maybe the bottom couple guys, it was clear that they weren't going to do all that well. But I don't think it was absolutely clear how far behind player 2 was going to be. It took people beating on Germany and forcing them backwards to do the damage. The it definitely helped that the Austrian player at the end held a large chunk of Russian stock, because he did not want to invade Russia, and he didn't. He held off on that and positioned himself against the Germans instead. Anyway, I think I'll load this. I just don't know whether or not I can do just a pure review, but I guess so. There's a lot of time on this one. Or we've already put a lot of time onto it. Okay.